the Irish language is a very important part of the DNA of Meitheal Mara. Also, the word Meitheal is an Irish word for neighbours working together to make something happen. It comes from the countryside.
Families gathering and neighbours gathering to make hay or cut turf or whatever, and the work group of the sea, Meitheal Mara, is community based.
So we had a discussion, and Meitheal Mara, strictly speaking, Meitheal Mara is the proper grammatical way of saying it. So we'd have tossed it about. Meitheal Mara, no, it won't work really. Meitheal Mara, it's Meitheal Mara, it's Meitheal Mara.
There is a huge connection between the river and the city of Cork. I mean, on my walking tours I give, I always say that Cork is very, very lucky and unlucky that it's built in the middle of the River Lee. I mean, if you went back in a time machine back 1400 years ago, before the time of Saint Finbar, or the patron saint of Cork, when he arrived, that there was the city itself is just a swampland area. I mean, the Irish for Cork is Corkig, which means marshes. The original name for Corkig was Corcock Mór na Muin, or the Great Marsh of Munster, and through this marsh there was numerous kind of river channels, and in time those river channels were like filled in, and we built on these 1617 islands, and we kept a south channel and we kept a north channel of the River Lee, and that's kind of what you see today. So there's a multitude of built heritage upon the swamp, a multitude of connections to the river as well, and not just the river, but also the tide. I mean, one has to remember that 1400 years ago, these 1617 marshy islands, before anybody built on them, would have been covered with the tide twice a day. The tide would come in, the tide would come out, and still today the tide comes underneath all of the city centre. It comes in and out, and we don't notice it. We probably notice it within just the remaining river channels of the South Channel and the North Channel.
In or around the city, and we walk the city streets, and we walk across the bridges, there's a sense of the river's always there. And as we grow older and maybe our understanding changes or grows, the sense that the city is the river becomes much more apparent.
Every phase of Cork's development has been affected by the river and the tide. I mean, going on from St Finbar's legacy of a monastery overlooking a swampland now marked by St Finbar's Cathedral, we had a Viking Age settlement around what's now South Main Street area. We had an Anglo-Norman walled town built across two marshy islands across South Main Street and North Main Street. We took down the town walls and spread out onto other islands, and we built quaysides and canals and tall buildings, narrow buildings that look very kind of Amsterdam-esque, if I can say that. And in the 19th century as well, we used water power for distilling and weaving and brewing and other elements in places like Blackpool. And also elsewhere kind of in the city centre.
When I began to realise that a lot of the streets that we walk on were waterways, and when you walk down South Mall and Grand Parade and you see the steps up to the doors from that time, and you understand that the Opera House, that plaza area, that was where ships came in to pay their customs in what's now the Crawford Gallery. You know, our whole city is the river, it is the harbour. So it's really deep in our shared identity in a way that I think we don't always pinpoint.
Like where we are here, there was a fishing community right here, like just around the corner, and up Kaiser's Hill, the Flynns. So there's one brother in Blackrock still. Paddy died, God rest him. But Paddy would stick his head in here to us, and he'd call everyone cuz. So he'd say, "Oh, go on, cuz." So he'd be telling us about their connection with the river, because he could stand over there, look at the river, and he'd say, "See the pale coming up? There's a pale coming up. Look at the pale. Look at him. He's heading up." I'd be looking at the river. Nothing. I could see nothing. He could see some little movement of a ripple or something on the water. So I often think of them as the keepers of the river, even though they were dependent on the salmon, but they would also kill them before the season and have them chilled down for the first day when you're legally allowed to have them, and there'd be bits of that stuff going on. So all that is very quickly vanishing, really, like, you know, or has vanished. But it's very important that fellas that dress the same as the fishermen in Dingle in the Blasket Islands, they're the same, a jacket, maybe a navy pullover, pants, shoes, and the river was their total connection. They were wired to the river, everything that happened on the river. They found the bodies, they did everything to do with the river, like, so. It's worth having the story of them being aware in the city. Paddy I would see him walking, and I used to often think he used to walk what were channels of the river. You know, there'd be little channels that are streets now. And he had his own way of going from the North Channel to the South Channel, and he went his way, you could meet him anywhere. But the whole thing was the water, the river, like.
I think many people in Cork have a great affection for the river. Many people go fishing, but they may not want to get wet. But then there's people who love to go swimming up in the further reaches in the Lee, say the Angler's Rest or along the leaf fields. And then you even see people jumping in off the pontoon on the marina. So I think people are making use of the river, but I think we could definitely make more use of the river. And I'd certainly like to see more people get out either in a currach or a kayak and explore the city, and then maybe use some of the steps on the quays as well to be able to put their boats in and out and explore the city that way.
Our identity, which I often think of, you know, in terms of the crest that's worn on GA jerseys by main end women, is of the harbour, the towers and the water and a boat or a ship in the middle, and you see that symbol so often in so many different guises. So from our point of view as an organisation, I suppose it's making the connection more real for people and opening up access, because access to the water and to avail of all the benefits of being involved in any way in watercraft or on the water itself. There's so many benefits there, but access isn't equal. So if we can do something to make it a little bit more equal and to grow the large community, to bring more people into the Meitheal, then we've done a good job.
Meitheal Mara, we describe ourselves as a community boatyard. We have 3 main activity areas. We've got the boatyard, which is just over here, with the workshop in it, which is where we started with boat building, currach building in particular, and we're still doing that partly as an enterprise and partly as training. We provide training to groups from around the city, and then we have rowing, and that's nearly all youth, young people. Then we have some adult rowing programs as well. The young people also build boats. And then the third aspect is our events, particularly Cork Harbour Festival and Ocean to City and the Interfirm Dragon Boat Challenges. So those 3 aspects come together organically in our community boatyard.
I had an Vogue, that's the first thing. I got an Vogue in 1986. That's a West Kerry type of currach. And then I took that to France on the roof of a van with the children and some friends. And I discovered there was a whole world, not yachting, that people who were proud of where they came from and the boats that they had another way of going on the water. So that was one side of it. And then, the Great River Race was definitely a factor. Like,
I think there were 2 currachs that year, one from Cork and one from Kerry. Both rowing Kerry currachs, and it was the first time they'd ever had currachs in the Great River Race.
The Great River Race is a 22-mile race on the Thames in London. At that time it was from Richmond to Greenwich. So it's an arduous race, it's about 3 hours. I entered it with 2 rowers, the Conroy brothers from Shandon Boat Club, with me. And we trained and we entered the race and we won it. So we were first in out of about 300 boats. So there was a fair old buzz out of achieving that.
So that was a big coup. And then I think the glory of coming back from that into Cork, well, it helped found Meitheal Mara.
I met a guy who we were rowing on the river. Frank was there as well, Frank Conroy. And he was coming from the tall ships in Boston, and he looked down at the boat and he said, "Na Vogue." He was from the US. And he said, "Could you build one?" And I said, "I could." As in, I mightn't have, but I could. So I had actually started building one in a shed in the garden. So I didn't think much of it. I didn't think anything would come of it, but eventually I ended up in California at a thing called Renaissance Fair, where I started building an Vogue from scratch, and I met there James Connolly's grandson, Brian O'Hearing. So he then gave me a kind of a mission to go back to Ireland and do something about that people would recognise these boats, they're recognised all over the world, that they recognise and that they're ours, like they're part of our culture. I use the metaphor of a culture really as call it a yogurt culture. The basis of it, well, the basis of the culture, I suppose, there was a mixture of work, being good for you, basically, yeah, provided it was always respectful. So there was respect and there was work. So the two of those things were kind of the key to it, really. We always had a mix of people from ex-offender, and we had also artists and people who you'd say, this is over 20 years ago, so you had artists that were eligible for community employment and they liked the atmosphere of the work here. And I think it was really good to have a mix of people from the mix was the key thing. Again, the yogurt culture. In a way, all I had to do was watch the mix. And, you know, some people could disturb the mix. They wouldn't be respectful, basically. And eventually, Marie Drew joined as well. She had experience of working in the prison and working with people from prison. So, and Seamus joined and became a central person in this place to this day. And between the three of us, in terms of the community work, if you want to call it that, we would kind of look at each other with the behaviour that was going on, with whatever was going on, what's the story. Seamus might have the explanation from what was happening where he comes from, and he could say, "Oh yeah, there's a lot going on there at the moment," and we'd be watching, and you know, we'd have to hold the fort as well at times, and if someone comes in and they've been drinking or on drugs or something, we have to turn them around at the gate and tell them, "Go away, you're welcome to come back, but you can't come here in that state," you know. And that was tough enough. There were tough enough things to do. But we would talk a bit, Marie, Seamus and myself, what's the story there now? And you'd know when a guy was blocking us all the time. He wouldn't accept it. He wouldn't accept what we were at. He wouldn't accept that we were genuine around seeing him move on, seeing him. And I remember always one guy, and he just switched, you know, and we would just look at each other. We wouldn't hardly say anything. We just look at each other, and then you would just feel the satisfaction in that, like. And then he would bring his girlfriend in, and he might have children, and he'd bring the children in, you know. So We had weddings that we held the oars for people, all that kind of stuff.
There's just a change, a small change, a subtle change, but it's a significant change. And lives are changed then as a result because of maybe different decisions a person might make. And often that comes back around. So someone who's been a trainee or part of a programme building boats a number of years later, like Seamus' own story, Seamus is back working and offering all his experience, all his skills, his amazing group work skills and his commitment to boat building. He's offering that back to other people.
Oh, it's quite a while back now. I joined Meitheal Mara around January 2000. I joined on a community employment scheme. Back then I was kind of looking for work and stuff, where it was kind of hard. But eventually I came in here looking and I got an interview. Yeah, I haven't looked back since, you know. Things have kind of progressed for me and yeah, I'm loving it. So my current role at the moment is so I'm the workshop manager. I'm also the group tutor. I get a hand off. I have an assistant with me. Yeah, so we power through all the groups. We power through any boat building that comes in. Anything to do with boats or people is what I love, you know.
Our community development work in Meitheal Mara is interesting because we have both the local community, the geographical community, as well as the community of interest. And for me, what's special about Meitheal Mara is those two aspects meld really well. So with our training groups in the afternoons, we've had groups from, say, Churchfield Community Trust, Headway, which is acquired brain injuries, City Links, which is the HSE's mental health in the community programme. We nearly always have two groups from City Links in. The Lantern Project, we've got a group from there in at the minute, just over in Nanonagle Place. And National Learning Network, we've had various National Learning Network groups that come into us as well. And a lot of these groups come back year after year.
The reason we engage with Meitheal Mara is because we find that the boat building projects that happen here are so inclusive. We've had people from all different countries. We've had people from different parts of the city. We've had people who have come with different mixed abilities. So they've been able to engage here in the projects. The first boat we made, we named it the Lantern.
Hello there, my name is Ellie Donovan, and I have the honour and the pleasure of supporting the group here while they make a Dunfawny Cork. The group we have at the moment, it's a 12-week Cork building course, and we have participants from the Lantern Community Project, the men's group in Nanonagle Place and Cork Migrant Centre. We're on schedule, so this beauty will be finished by the 2nd of June, all going well.
And people who may come in here having had a whole variety of life stories.
Oh, we've been giving the lads a hand there building the boat, you know, and they're showing us what to do and we're doing it. And we're getting on very good doing it, you know. It is very good, very interesting.
We've 2 or 3 kind of projects that we really take for different type of people and different types of groups. So we say with the Dunfanny Cork, which is just behind me here, yeah, so that consists of going out for the first time on my own and getting the hazel rods and bringing them back, and then taking a trip to the boatyard and then bringing it all back to the workshop, doing a bit of preparing, and yeah, and then the group arrives, and then I suppose my hardest part is trying to explain that these twigs or trees is going to become a boat, you know. So the first 1 or 2 days with the group is just to find out who they are, what they're into, what they like, what they don't like, and then after that, then it's really kind of, you know, the group just comes together itself once you can kind of start who's good at what, you know. And the ethos, I suppose, the approach of the whole organisation, everyone from people in the workshop, people out rowing on the river, people in the admin side in the offices, is to support each individual to reach their potential as part of a team, as part of a group. So how I see that happening, I do think always of the workshop. I think of groups of people in the workshop working as a team, facilitated, supported, led, encouraged, cajoled, pushed, challenged by Seamus and his team. And for them, over time, there's a change happens
in different ways, something clicks, something adjusts.
I suppose Meitheal Mara is really unique in what it does. It's a community organisation first and foremost, but then it's a maritime organisation, and it's a traditional maritime organisation. I think the ethos of how the organisation works and how everybody within the organisation works with each other is really part of what makes it special. To be able to promote the river and Ireland's maritime culture, the beautiful curraghs that we have here, is brilliant, and to be able to provide access to young people and older people who otherwise wouldn't get the chance to be on the river or try these boats is a really great thing to be able to do.
I was asked in by one of them to give a talk to a group, and I just said basically, when it's a bit idealistic, when someone steps inside the gate into this space, then they don't have to earn the respect. The respect is automatic. Once you come in, you are treated like that. You can mess it, you can mess up with it, you can go out the gate again, you can always come back to the gate again. So that kind of picture of, in a way, it's like trying to create a different world, which is nuts, like.
We want the 4 oars going into the water together. Because if you have a think about the boat, right, when you get your oars out of the water at the end of the stroke, the boat is gliding. So by putting your oars back into the water again, you're stopping that glide. So you only want that to happen once.
Meitheal Mara, as I say, gives opportunities to young people as well through the boatyard programme to get out to learn boat handling and seamanship, and some of them, again, building their own boats, taking part in the youth race every year, and helping to organise the whole boatyard thing with Claire Hayden, like who has kind of developed that programme very much, and has increased the numbers, like to probably around 200 young people every year, getting opportunities to get on the water, to handle and get to know the traditional boats of Ireland, and to just enjoy themselves as well.
So I work to get youth groups on the water and to make the water accessible to youth groups. So we would work with complete beginners, some people who've never been on the water before at all, and work with them every week and build up their skills and get them to a point of them being comfortable and confident on the water. So that's my main activity here in Meitheal Mara.
So we started with Ógra Corky, then became Foróige, and YMCA, a good number of youth groups, and then we had a nice thing developing where older siblings would, like the word of mouth to the younger siblings, and then the older siblings would be teaching the younger ones, and that's developed further now under Claire. We've had 2 employees and 2 community employment participants that have come through Boatyard learning to row. Both have come from the Life Centre actually, and one of them has gone on to Kinsale Outdoor Education College now.
When you're on the water, you're dependent on everybody who's with you to get back, and that was a big factor with some of the loud boats that would young fellas now that would be just totally unconscious of where they were, like, and you just rock the boat. We might do a little rock of the boat and watch it percolating down. If I'm to get back on shore, I'm depending on the 3 other people that are in this boat with me. I can't jump out. Some of them threaten to jump out. So that applies to, you are in this capsule that's away. Even if you row through the city, you're in a different dimension. So it's really, and that allows stuff to happen with anybody, really. Just getting the rhythm, it settles you down, like, you just, yeah.
Come on, Sam, put your back into it. You're used to all these coffee breaks then when you come down here, and you have to put a bit of work into it now today.
I suppose today is all about getting young people on the water and being part of a wider community in the city. We were really excited to get involved in this programme from day one because it gave us an opportunity to showcase Meitheal Mara, and Meitheal being community, meaning community. It just connected the city with the area in Knocknaheeny. We haven't had the opportunity in Knocknaheeny in the past to get young people on the water. I know that other areas of the city have been involved, and we've been pretty keen to get down. Now we're at the stage where we've been coming since September. We have the opportunity for Ocean to City. The lads are really excited. 16 young people have participated up until now, and we have a core group of about 7 who've stuck with it and will look like they're going to represent the community. I think what happened is that over time confidence has increased and teamwork has certainly increased, communication, all those kind of skills, and a lot more kind of social and getting on with the leaders in Meitheal Mara and all of that. They're all vital links in their development, and we're thrilled to be part of this programme. It's just, yeah, it's been fantastic.
My name is Sam Lynch. I'm from Cork Life Centre. I've been there now for 6 years, and we're here today with Meitheal Mara down on the River Lee. We've got about 10 students with us at the moment who are doing rowing. We love to link in with local community groups like Meitheal Mara. I suppose we've been with them now, I'd say since my time anyway, 6 years we've been working with them, and the students love it. Gives them an opportunity to try something new. I suppose like myself, they mightn't have had the opportunity to try rowing on the River Lee, and this is a way they get to do that in curraghs, old-fashioned boats. They learn the skills, they're taught how to do it. The instructors from Meitheal Mara are great. They go out with them initially, show them the ropes, and then eventually, kind of as the year goes on usually, they progress to rowing on their own.
A stroke twice as long as what I saw there now. So reaching out, leaning back at the back. Keane, you have to follow his rhythm, because otherwise you're making life harder for yourself.
And eventually the idea is that we can participate in the Ocean to City race, whoever wants to do that over the summer, which is always a great event.
I suppose I always had an interest in rowing, and I never really got a chance to row until I got to Cork Life Centre, where I got a chance to come down every Wednesday to Laps Quay, where we'd meet Claire, who runs boatyard, which is a programme within Meitheal Mara.
They all started out getting into boats with a leader on the water, and now we're at the stage where they're all independent, and it's taken a very short period of time. Yeah. And now they're rowing as a crew as opposed to just learning all the time, and it's actually more difficult to navigate the bridges in the city than it would be for the race that we're going to get involved in, because it's a straight run. Yeah, it's all over. And now when we're fighting against tides and all of that, and going up and minding bollards and whatever it is, it's just, they have a skipper on each boat, which means that they're able to mind themselves, and there's a lot of confidence in that, you know. Hold harder there, lads. Go on.
Lads, try and concentrate and stay in a straight line. You're doing a lot of zigzagging. You're wasting energy. Come on, you should be up the front.
Yeah, today we are bringing actually two youth groups from Meitheal. One is from Ferroiga, and the other one is being brought down from the Meitheal Neighbourhood Youth Project. So both projects have been in the community for a good number of years, and we've been bringing children to Meitheal Mara to the rowing on Wednesdays for the past 5-6 years. The main aim for us really is to bring young people to the city on the River Lee. We see that as part of the children's inheritance, living in Cork, and to be exposed to the surroundings in the city, being on the water, and possibly being slightly out of their comfort zone at the beginning. It depends on personalities, but to muster up enough courage to do it and to take in the instructions and improving their skills over time if they stick to to the plan of doing this over a couple of weeks. And the added bonus is really that they meet other youth groups.
Dennis, give us a happy donut there.
You know, vi grafé le hegum den gweling agus de cultúr na héirn agus bhuinas trí last rávíoch na Névóga in about 2006 I started, and so I've been a member of Névóga Corky, the Cork club, since then.
So Névóga Corky and Meitheal Mara started, they were one organisation at the beginning, and there's a lot of mutual support goes on there because Névóga Corky is a big source of volunteers for us, and then they're out there using the curraghs that are built here, and they're a very enthusiastic bunch.
Well, I suppose Névóga Corky is a community rowing club. We row traditional Névogs, better known as curraghs, and we row them mainly on the Lee, and we also do trips abroad, and we do a number of races, long races and short races.
I was a member of the Curragh Club for a good number of years and really loved being on the river. Cork is, you know, it's a beautiful city and we have a beautiful river, and when you get on the river you really experience the city in a completely different way. You see things that you haven't noticed ever before, that you don't appreciate when you're just walking along the quaysides.
Even this week I saw salmon jumping in the river, and that's a great thrill, I think, to see them at eye level. You might see them from the quay walls or from the bridges, but it's a completely different experience when you see them from the boat. And you really see part of Cork's heritage when you get to see underneath the bridges and the wires and the channels running into the river. And you appreciate, we're really a maritime city, and it's really enjoyable to, on occasion, get up on some of the steps on the quay walls, get out there and have a coffee or a mineral, and then carefully get back into the boats and row down again.
And I also love, being able to explore parts of the harbour, get to islands, get to places that you wouldn't be able to get to by driving or by walking. That's a big treat as well.
So every Saturday morning we host a public row down on the marina beside the Shandon Boat Club, which is where we store the curraghs. And if people come along there around 10:15, we'll set them up with a life jacket and we'll get them in a boat with a crew. And they're very stable boats, even more stable than kayaks, so you're not going to get wet unless you want to go swimming yourself. And we usually row up to the Mercy Hospital and come back down under the bridges, so you get to see what Cork is like from a different perspective. And then we go for coffee after that, which is a crucial part of Névóga Corky.
And then there are rows on a Wednesday evening, and you're up and down the river on the summer's evenings.
I suppose the club has a very good ethos, which I realised when I came for the first time. Everyone likes to get involved, and on the boat you really rely on other people on the crew. It's not a solo pursuit. You can't really do anything on your own. You need other people involved. I think that brings a great kind of esprit de corps into the club, great sociability. And in spite of relying on other people, there's actually a great sense of freedom being out in the water, more than walking around, even though you're relying more on other people and you're more restricted in your movements.
And what I love about rowing is the rhythm of it. Or somebody said it's the zen of it, because you can completely lose yourself. I suppose it's a bit like dancing. Sometimes people think you need to be very strong to row, but rhythm and coordination is far more important. And you can if you get the boat going really well and you get the rhythm right, it just gives you great satisfaction and great endorphin release.
It's a very nice hour or two, and you're working with other people, and the club has been great, and very, again, welcoming and inclusive, we even have Dublin people in the club.
So Fiambara, the history of Fiambara is interesting, or the boat type. The original of it is in Collins Barracks in the museum in Dublin, and it's officially the oldest boat in the French Navy.
The boat is a Bantry longboat, and it's a replica of a boat that came ashore in Bantry Bay in 1796 with Wolfe Tone. And a number of years ago, people, kind of a partnership between people in Brittany and people in the US, were looking for a type of boat that would combine training in sailing, rowing, team building, and a whole combination of stuff. So they picked on this boat, and the historical and heritage side of it as well. So they picked on this boat as being one that would fulfill a whole lot of purposes around this area of youngsters getting on the water and traditional skills and stuff like that.
And we bought it as an unfinished hull. There was one made in Waterford, and they got a grant to build one, but they were also able to get enough timber to build the second hull, and we were able to finish it off in the workshop here. So it was a brilliant project for, again, that was the biggest thing we had done at that time.
And we've completed it in here pretty much over the last year.
When it arrived, it was built to here. It didn't have these two final planks on, and it had all the ribs, and that was all. So from there on up really has been our responsibility. It's been with us almost a year now. We had to put all the thwarts in, really, basically all the new wood you can see on these last two planks. And the masts are now being made, and there's 10 oars, which are the size of tree trunks. They're huge.
So it's a very important project for us. It lifts this project in Meitheal Mara up to another level, you know, the fact that this is really universally recognised as a very fine boat, demanding very good skills.
And then, yeah, that was 2007 it was built, 2008 we launched it, and it went straight off to Quebec to one of these international competitions with some young people from Cork and Bishopstown and Meán. Make sure your oar is flat on top of the water. Once you've got the oar up on the gunnel, you roll it. Ocean to City is our, it was a Cork 2005 project, so it's been going a long time.
Ocean to City is like the Great River Race on the Thames, to an extent, transferred to Cork. So we wrote up the project and submitted it, and they bought it as the Capital Culture project. So basically, it's a race from Crosshaven. If the weather is right, some of the boats that are able to do it go out to Roach's Point,
where there's a lot of waves, so it's very exciting, and we don't normally get a chance to go out that far. And then you come back in past Cove, past Monkstown and Ringaskiddy and Passage.
Up past Blackrock Castle, across Loch Mahon, which is kind of notorious in the race, as where you kind of hit the wall, the equivalent of hitting the wall in the marathon. It's a big open stretch of water, and the waves are a little bit more challenging there. The wind is stronger there, so you're already tired. So pushing through that is always a big deal. Getting around the turn by Blackrock Castle, you feel like you're on the home straight, but you still have a good bit to go, and you're in this amazing fleet of boats all around you, all different sizes, different nationalities, a fantastic sense of camaraderie and support for each other.
Straight up the city, and we finish between Laps Quay and Albert Quay. there where the boardwalk is. So people are experiencing everything from ocean swell to the river right the way through. Some years it's a bit windy and we can't go all the way to Roach's Point, so then this is where we have the ocean course is that one, and then we have what we now call the city course, which leaves out Roach's Point if it's too windy or too much swell, or sometimes it's fog actually, you just haven't got the visibility. And then responding to demand, we've developed another course from Monkstown, which is half the full distance for people who want to try it out but don't want to do the full distance, and we've had stand-up paddleboards and sit-on-top kayaks. It's quite a big thing for them to start from there. And the youth race starts from Blackrock Harbour, which again, it's nice to start from this traditional, what was a traditional fishing village and pier, and to have that as the start of the youth race.
It is Ireland's longest and largest multi-craft rowing and paddling race. We have about 500 plus, sometimes 600 participants each year that travel from around Ireland and beyond.
Boat number 1 from the Netherlands. Look at the rhythm. Let's give them a big cheer and a big welcome to Cork.
So it's taken off since then, and the City Council has been a very loyal supporter all the way through, which has allowed it to keep going. And the County Council supports it now as well, and the Port of Cork. And it's an enterprise for Meitheal Mara as well, because we get income from the entry fees and from t-shirt sales and other bits and pieces. But it is much more than that. It's a focal point for Naoga Corky, for the groups in our workshop. And I think the relationships it's allowed us to build with the two local authorities have been really important for Meitheal Mara as well, because they really understand what we do. Voyage Ireland, another supporting group, now that outdoor activities in Ireland is such a big thing for tourism, they really appreciate what we do as well. So it has gained us a reputation with public bodies, which is really useful to us and essential for what we do. And it's a very collaborative process. I think we do good for the city and the country, and vice versa.
CorkHarbourFestival.com for all the details, and make sure you pick up one of the festival programmes. There's loads happening from now until June 13th, both on and off the water.
Really good challenge. I was elated coming across the finish line. It was quite wet that day. My family had come in to be in the cheerleading brigade on the boardwalk, so just elated getting off the water that I'd achieved this, and I feel that's what other people have had experience of since.
It's a huge operation by Meitheal Mara and a whole lot of partners and supporters and volunteers to make it happen. Like, it's a big organisational and logistical operation, like even from a safety point of view, to make sure that the whole thing is done in a safe way.
So this year's Ocean to City was quite different than usual. Of course, it was the first race that we'd done since 2019, with the pandemic being in the middle. We did organise 2 virtual races over the last couple of years, but this was the first time that we were back on the water. So it was really exciting to be back on the water, back with all our participants and our community of rowers and paddlers. And we were really looking forward to it, but then at the last minute the weather kind of didn't play ball and we had to change our courses. So where we'd normally start a lot of the participants from Crosshaven, this year we had to start most of our participants from Monkstown. But somehow it all worked, and the participants were in general really happy and supportive and helpful. The volunteers were brilliant.
It was just so good to see all those boats coming in. All those boats, my God, how did they do it, you know?
At the race end, on the boardwalk, and in the Clayton for the presentation afterwards, just the smiles on everybody's faces. And then there was a real community gathering later in the evening for all those that had been involved. And there was just a huge sense of, you know, we had done this together.
It's fabulous to be back doing what we love after the pandemic, and yeah, I think we're proud of our city and our harbour, and we really want to show it off to people as best as we can. So.
I still like to see the way people work with each other, upstairs and downstairs. The way they treat each other really is what is key, and I see that yogurt culture has shifted and changed a bit, but I still have to say that's my sense of what goes on, like, is there is respect, and it doesn't matter what your story is. This is the story that you can carry on from here. Yeah.
I'd love to see Meitheal Mara be able to do what it does, not lose its way of doing it, but to do it for more people. We are in an amazing space in the middle of the city centre. It's amazing, but it's limited, and I would love us to have a slightly larger, more accessible place that we can use as a base to bring more people, to do it in the same way, going back to Padraig O'Deneen and Donald Lynch's and others' ideas, Donald McCartan's ideas, to use our energy and our resources for those that can benefit most from it and might have the least opportunities to benefit. So to still with that mission in mind, but to also have a whole range of different people, all age groups, from youngest to the oldest, more easily able to engage and to be involved and to access the water, to touch a boat, to build a boat, to sit in a boat, to row a boat, and to come back to land afterwards and to share that experience. I'd love to see that just expanded and more people of all walks of life, of all backgrounds, of all interests and abilities to benefit from that. That would be my dream.